Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Tonight we are at the Salient Center in Elgin, Illinois. My name is Meryl Fury. I am President and CEO of Plant Based Nutrition Movement, and we have the honor and pleasure of working with Gabriel, who is giving me signs in the background. I want you to know he's making hand signals and things. um, we have the pleasure of working with Gabriel here at the Salient Center, and tonight we are doing a whole food plant-based meal with my dear friend Joan Davis, who is here to do the cooking demo and also impart lots of knowledge. Um, I think. I have one message for you first. This is very important. A word from our sponsor, yeah? All right. Let me introduce Joan. Joan is a secondary teacher and a nurse with over 20 years of experience providing programs as a public health nurse, an occupational health consultant, and even as a cruise lecturer. After earning her certificate in plant-based nutrition from Center for Nutrition Studies?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She has been presenting and continues to present programs on plant-based nutrition. She's in the hundreds of programs that she's presented. She is a board member of Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. We couldn't do what we do without her. And she also volunteers for the very popular nutritionfacts.org with Dr. Greger. She's just a wealth of information and a joy to be around. I'll let her tell you how old she is.
Oh.
You'd never believe it. You'd never believe
I'm
it.
73.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And literally runs circles around me. Literally. Yeah.
It's all those plants.
Yeah. Beautiful. Here at the Salient Center, there's one other thing I wanted to let you know. If this is your first time at the Salient Center, please let Gabriel know, and he will give you a tour if you're interested. Housekeeping issues, restrooms are here, and Joan will be doing a PowerPoint presentation, which is visible on the screen here and should be visible at home. Okay? With no further ado, we will give this over to Joan.
Thank you. Actually, I got mine.
Okay.
I'm so glad to be here and share some things with you, as Meryl indicated, and thank you for that nice introduction. I am a proud member of Plant-Based Nutrition Movement, and you're going to be having some future cooking classes we'll tell you about later, cooking demonstrations. You've had some pretty amazing cooks doing cooking demonstrations here at Salient Center. And, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not in that category. I've got a confession. I'm a reluctant cook. I really want to prepare and serve wonderful plant-based, nutritious meals. But you know what? I want to do a lot of things. So sometimes they conflict, and there are a lot of times when I just want to get in and out of the kitchen. I suspect there might be a few in the audience here or watching who have that same feeling. You really want to do plant-based, but by golly, plant-based means a lot of chopping, a lot of cutting. So how can you minimize your time in the kitchen? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today. I have no less than 18 tips for you to do exactly that. Shall we get started? Okay. One first tip, and it's maybe the most important, is to learn how to batch cook. What does that mean? Make big batches. What are you going to make big batches of? Grains, whole grains, pastas, beans, and vegetables at times. If you make big batches, you'll only have to do it once or twice a week. Did you know that the average American responsible for cooking puts in 6.7 hours? Now, that was on the internet, so, it might be not totally reliable, but I think that's about accurate. And here you are. You just get home from work, maybe the kids are waiting, you're rushed, and you don't have an hour or almost an hour every day to cook. you better get that meal in, on the table maybe in 20 minutes if they give you that much time. So how are you going to do it? Well, you could opt for the convenient way, and that's what most Americans do. Grab a pizza, grab a can of something. But you want to be plant-based. You want to have more plant-based, nutritious food. How are you going to do that? Well, take that 6.7 hours and divide it so that you have a big chunk of time to do the batch cooking. And then you'll still have 3 hours, so maybe you can have that 20 minutes per day, and you'll still be able to easily pull together meals. Okay, so tip number 1 is do batch cooking, but to do that, you're going to have to put some time in. You're going to have to make the batch that you'll use for the rest of the week. Okay, batch cooking. And then create grain and veggie bowls. And I'm going to talk about, well, what do you put in a grain bowl to make it taste good? Then I'm going to encourage you, save your gourmet cooking for the weekend when you're going to have guests. Most of us rotate maybe about 12 meals, and it's so smart to pick some simple meals that you can put together. Now, you might have some chopped vegetables, you might have the grain already prepared, so I'm not cheating when I say that's part of your cooking time. But simple meals, you can dress them up if you want. You can add more spices, more exotic ingredients, but bottom line, stick with the simple recipes for during the week, and then if you have more time or if you have a day off on Wednesday, maybe you can make a fancier meal. Make batches of plant-based soups or chili. And they're helpful with weight loss. There's so many advantages to soups, but you can't get home, okay, you gotta make dinner, and create soup. You're gonna reach for the can, and there are some healthy cans, but you're going to be much better off if you put a little time in ahead so that everything's ready. You go off to work in the morning, and you've got your batch, you've got your soup going. And it's so delightful to come home and have soup, isn't it? Okay, smells so good. Here's one. You gotta learn to love leftovers. You can call them something else. It's a recreated meal, but bottom line is you shouldn't have to cook something new every day. The neat thing is you can work with what you have. If you've got those batches, you can combine those. Maybe you made a big pot of quinoa. Well, you can have quinoa and maybe serve with it with a vegetable. Or if you're into plant-based meats, maybe you're transitioning, your family says gotta have meat. Well, you can have that plant-based meat with the quinoa with maybe a vegetable. But the next day, or maybe you wait 2 days, pull out that quinoa, add some mushrooms, add some carrots, make it colorful, and that's going to be your meal. You can do this with so many. You can do it with pasta. One night you have noodles with broccoli. Next night that noodles becomes mac and cheese because you have some cheese that you can add to it. So many ways that you can combine with maybe new ingredients. Might be new to your family. I never had mac and cheese with broccoli. Well, try them out. Okay. Create a salad bar in your refrigerator. In other words, have those carrots, have the celery. If you have to get that celery out, wash it, cut it, clean it, chances are I don't have time for it. But if you have it all ready, and even as you're going out the door, grab a baggie and throw some carrots and celery in, and you can do what I do, make celery logs. I put a little hummus. Maybe you like peanut butter. Pick some healthy ingredients to put in your celery. That's a quick meal. Okay. Now, I'm going to change and drop down to reallocate your cooking time. I've already told you about that because then you can make thoughtless meals. What are thoughtless meals? You don't have to think about it. Oh yeah, I have quinoa. I've got, let's say, brown rice, and I know I have some green peppers. Well, stuffed peppers will be pretty easy then when you have them ready to go. Okay, so Again, I don't think that's cheating. I think you're reallocating your time. And that way you'll get in and out of the kitchen quickly during the week. You're going to have to put the time in sometime. But if you carve out a time, and you can kind of make it a little fun. Let me go to my next slide here. I'll tell you about how to make it a little fun. Let's talk about big batches of beans. What can you do with beans? Well, beans are something that we know are so healthy for the fiber that we so need. And you can make all kinds of different kinds of beans. So rather than, okay, I'm just going to grab Campbell's baked beans, have you ever looked at the label? You can, and you don't have to, you might say, well, I don't have time to cook beans. Well, you might, but maybe you decide, I'm not going to bother with that. I'm buying beans. It's fine. Look at the can of beans. If you can pick up low sodium beans, that's healthier. And you can do a lot with beans. So if you make a bigger batch, that's probably when you're going to cook the beans, but at least have beans available. There's your protein, and you can make a meal quickly with beans. And you don't have to stick with, one kind of bean, pinto beans or kidney beans. Black beans, you can throw those in lots of things. Your tacos, on a salad, in a salad, a green salad. So big batch of beans. How about a big batch of potatoes? Oh, you can do so much with potatoes once you've got them cooked. If you are rushing around, if you have an Instant Pot, you can indeed cook the potatoes quickly. But maybe you don't have an Instant Pot. It's going to take you a while to cook the potatoes. So why not make them in advance? They taste delicious. If you've got them in your refrigerator, pull them out, microwave them, and then you've got your choice. You want to put cheese on it. You want to do it like my husband does, put some salsa on it with some beans maybe. That can be a whole meal. Maybe you like broccoli on top of yours. I'm not saying sour cream. Did you notice that? You're plant-based. They're aiming for plant-based. You're going to put healthy things. But there's a lot of delicious, healthy things. And if you say, I have to have something on my potato besides vegetables, well, I'm going to tell you about some cheese alternatives. So you get that cheese with your broccoli on top of those potatoes. Okay? Now, one of the things that you have to be aware of is you have to store if you have all these vegetables that you've prepared or the grains, you need to store them properly. And it helps a lot if you have tight lids, if it's something that needs tight lids, and you can see it. Because one of the things that we spend a lot of time is looking for the ingredients that are hiding in the refrigerator, right? So if you have nice clear containers, they come in all sizes, all shapes, but it really helps. And the nice thing about the glass is then you can heat it quickly. So store your prepared foods. You've worked hard to cut them all up, right? Store them so they're going to be safe. Sometimes it means taking paper towel and spreading it so that the vegetables don't get, if you're working with raw vegetables, so they don't get dried out. There's lots of things you can do. I don't really want to talk too much about this other than be wise about how you store it. Now, I said make cooking fun. Now, does someone like me, cooking fun? But you can. If you have children, it's an excellent time to give them mom or dad time. Hey, we're going to do this crazy thing. We're going to cook for 3 hours. I could sure use some help, and maybe we can talk about, your school play coming up or whatever. Or if you don't have children, but you've got a spouse who wouldn't come in every day to help you, but when you say, okay, it's cooking time, I need somebody to help, you'll probably get that person to help you for the whole 3 hours. It's a little more likely that you'll have duration. And then all that cutting up, then they're going to be a little more invested in, well, what are we going to do with it? So you can encourage plant-based eating by having the ingredients handy and by trying to make it a little fun. Okay, you do the potatoes, I'll get the carrots, or I hate cutting up onions, but it doesn't make you cry so much. You do that and I'll do this other thing, or who gets the onions this time? You can make it a little fun. Not great fun, but I don't know if you're going to be, hee-hawing in the kitchen, but you'll at least have a decent time. So make it, at least enlist your helpers and make it a little more fun. Okay, as I said, I'm going to walk over here. This could be your real friend. And there are specials. And I know Gabriel has worked with the Salient Center to try to let you know about, hey, this is on sale, and you can get these at a reasonable price. So if you don't have one, you don't have to have one, but it makes life very fast. You want to get in and out of the kitchen, you need a helper, and this is a good helper. Okay. The another thing that I want to talk about is start substituting some of your foods so you can be plant-based because you've got them handy. Now, let's take a look at what you can substitute. Okay, milk you know about. It's just been, it exploded in the market. But how about egg? And some of you may say, no, I like to eat eggs, and it's not plant-based, but maybe you're not ready yet to give up eggs. But if you are, thank goodness there's substitutes. And I'm going to point out some things here. Just Egg, and I don't have any share in Just Egg. There are some other, actually they have a new competitor, but this is one. You can make your own Just Egg with mung beans, but if you're in and out of the kitchen, that may not be what you want to do. There are lots of substitutes for eggs. If you need one egg for baking something, then you can use flaxseed. But if you're wanting scrambled eggs, and some people do fine with scrambled tofu. My husband and I used to eat scrambled eggs all the time. We're vegan, we're plant-based now, so we don't. So we were looking for substitutes. The tofu didn't work for us. It might work well for you, but when this product came out, we were happy. We don't use that much of it because our scrambled eggs are mostly vegetables that I cut up in advance. I got the onions, I've got the green peppers, I've got the mushrooms, all ready to go. And then it's kind of like that's the mortar, to hold the vegetables together. And it's a really fast meal that way. Okay, other flour. When you get your flour, just make sure it's whole wheat flour, or it could be other kinds of flour than wheat, but you want the whole grain. And whole grain is basically, it'll say whole grain, it'll say rolled, or it can say sprouted. Those are the biggies for healthier grains. Okay, now what are you going to use for sugar? Well, there's all kinds of substitutes. You can use maple syrup. I'm not saying you want a whole lot of this, but for baking, or if you need some sweetness, this still has nutrients in it. It's still, you don't want to overindulge, but it is a natural source. Another one that is a little newer, we've had maple syrup for a long time, and it shouldn't be that imitation maple syrup. It's pure maple syrup. Did you know there's coconut sugar? That's made right from coconut, and I just got this at a store. It's not an exotic store. I think it was either Jewel or Woodman's. You can get coconut. Now, this is brown, so for some recipes, if you need white, I think they do have the white coconut sugar too, but this one I found easily. Okay, so you can use that. And that is just coconut. This one is date sugar. And I can maybe later on have you take a look at this. It's a little grainy, so it may not work for every recipe, but it's pure dates. Dates are really sweet. Or you can get the real dates. And it's amazing what a few dates, if you cut them up in little pieces and put them in a fruit salad or any kind of dish where you need a little sweetener, these work really well. Let's see, shortening. You say, no, I don't know, I need some shortening. Well, there's substitutes for that. Of course there is. And you've probably all heard applesauce. And I recommend, if you get applesauce, you might want to get a package of the 6, containers, because sometimes you only need a half a cup. And your refrigerator is full, and you can't put that great big jar of applesauce in there. When you buy, look for, this one is less sugar or no sugar added. But this works fine in a lot of recipes for when you're baking. So when you're cooking and doing some baking, another thing that works for sugar? Shortening, bananas. So you can use bananas, and that's pretty easy to do. Okay, now you might say, the big challenge, my family loves cheese. And I know it's totally saturated fat, and it's not good for us. And we've been over marketed with all of the cheese products. Well, there's some solutions. I don't know how many of you are familiar with nutritional yeast, but that is a great substitute for a lot of cheese, and you can make cheese sauces using this. It is a great source of vitamin B12. But this is a really good product. I sprinkle it on my popcorn, on my broccoli, all kinds of ways you can use nutritional yeast. So that's a good substitute. This is more processed. It is a plant-based cheese. Some people aren't aware that, oh, I didn't know they could make cheese out of anything but milk. You sure can. You can use cashews. You can use other kinds of nuts. I have a cheese sauce recipe made out of potatoes and roasted peppers. So again, this is the quick and easy. It's not the most healthy, but you know, if you want to sprinkle a little bit of cheese on top of that baked potato with the broccoli, this works fine for that. Nutritional yeast does too. There are plant-based, if you need cream cheese, again, this is processed, so I'm not saying it's perfectly healthy, but it will have less saturated fat. This is tofutti cream cheese. And notice it's plain, it's not flavored, because you don't need that extra sugar either. If you absolutely have to have some cream cheese on your bagel, this would be a better option but there are healthier things you can put on your bagel. But at any rate, know that there are a lot of options out there that maybe you weren't aware of. We're lucky that new products are being developed, and you have to look carefully at the labels, you know, how much fat is in them, but they do have some answers, you know, especially as transition foods. Okay, let's take a look here. We want to get you in and out of the kitchen. That's just what we were talking about. So what are some breakfast and lunch possibilities? Well, breakfast is easy. Cold cereal, but really look at the cold cereal. So you probably have that you know how to quickly get a breakfast together that at least is a cold breakfast. Pancakes, waffles, you can use non-dairy yogurt for a quick breakfast. And you don't have to have that just for breakfast. All these things can be lunch or they can be dinner. That makes it easy. If you're really scraped for time and you didn't put in your homework to get those vegetables and beans in the batch ready in your fridge, this might work well, okay? And it's a treat sometimes for kids once in a while to have something that they don't usually get for breakfast. They're going to have it for lunch. If you want to get in and out of the kitchen quickly, you need some decent equipment. And one of them is, my friend, parchment paper, because you won't have to do much cleanup. Things don't stick to this. So be aware of parchment paper as a real help. Okay? And then I like, a lot of times, cutting with knives, I guess I don't have my knife skills perfected, but I like using scissors. You know, for like, you got fresh dill, oh, you can zip right along with this. So I'd suggest you get a good pair of kitchen scissors, and don't let the kids take it and use it on paper. You know, that's your kitchen scissors. There are all kinds of slicers out there, but they make quick work of, let's say you need some sliced carrots. Well, something like this works really well. It's inexpensive. You can get fancy ones. You can use electrical equipment, but the slicer does really well, and it'll grate too and other things. So you need something that'll make it easier rather than you cutting all the time. Okay, and then you really do need good knives. So, you know, be aware of that. And you need pans that don't stick. Okay, and I'm not going to give you brands, but there are some brands, ceramic pots and pans. You probably could discuss among yourself which work for you. But you don't need to be spending time in the kitchen cleaning pots and pans. So, you know, get something that works for you. Spiralizer is just kind of a fun thing. You can make those long zucchini noodles out of a spiralizer, but it's nothing you need to have. But it can be fun, and the kids will enjoy that, and maybe they'll help you make some zucchini noodles, zoodles. Okay, let's move along here. Equipment. Now I am talking electrical equipment. Steamer. You're going to be steaming a lot of vegetables, and you could use it for potatoes and rice, and but I'd recommend that you have something that you can steam easily. And then you may want, if you have a lot of smoothies, you may want to have a magic bullet, but you may also want to get something like a Vitamix, or this is a Ninja, which has several. You can make your smoothies in it, but you can also cook soup in it. These can be quite expensive, but again, they can be discounted at certain times. So you watch for the special. It makes an excellent Christmas present. And you can give it to that partner who's going to help you in the kitchen, right? Okay, I've already mentioned the Instapot. And again, that's the full Vitamix, the tall one. I mean, the full size. Okay, and I'm going to be using this guy for one of the recipes we're going to make. Now, let's move on. Here I am telling you, here's some new equipment that might be handy, but now I'm going to switch on you, and I'm going to say, maybe you want to get rid of some stuff that doesn't work for you. At the very least, make sure you have nice, clear cabinets or counters. We spend a lot of time supposedly cooking when we're picking up the papers that the kids left their homework. And then, the husband put some things down that maybe weren't dirty, but they don't belong in the kitchen. And you get all that clutter. Who wants to say, okay, I'm going to start cooking? It's going to take you 20 minutes, well, maybe an hour to clean that mess up. So you really want something that looks more like that. Now, that's a gourmet kitchen, but you can certainly start making some rules. If I'm going to be spending time in the kitchen, I don't want extra trouble, cleaning up before I even start. And again, by doing some thinking ahead, you might avoid shopping trip interruptions. Because how many times did it take you 3 hours to make the recipe because an hour and a half was spent in the grocery store getting the one thing that you forgot, and then, one thing leads to another. So I'm going to encourage you to, you do have to be smart and think ahead, do the planning, and then that'll cut down on your time actually in the kitchen, actually cooking. Okay? How about the refrigerator? That's the hidden mess. And that's why you want containers like this so that you can see what's in there or see what's in your cabinets. It really does make a difference. And besides that, you won't be throwing away, the things that got bad because, I didn't know we had that in the very back of the refrigerator. So make life easier for yourself, with a little organization beforehand. Now, let's start to make a bowl. You can start with whole grains. Throw some quinoa that you had ready to go, or couscous or rice, and then starchy vegetables. Throw some starchy vegetables like potato and corn and squash. And if you're really cut for time, you can buy squash all cut up and cubed, ready for you. How about legumes? That means beans. And chickpeas, beans, lentils. Now you got 3 layers, right? Are you done? Not quite. Now you're going to add your non-starchy vegetables. Peppers, broccoli, pineapple chunks. Doesn't take much time to get pineapple chunks. Most of us will go with a can. But if you go with a can, make sure it says not in its own syrup. Or, you don't want the thick, heavy, although if you rinse it, then you've gotten rid of some of it. Okay, and then you add spices, sauces, and condiments. There's all kinds of hints on the internet about how to make plant-based bowls. And you can make Mexican ones, you can make Italian ones, you can make Asian bowls, all kinds of different bowls. And what could be easier? If you've got those ingredients ready to go, throw them together and you've got a wonderful bowl. And I've given you a resource there. Sally Lipitsky has made, I'm going to give you this later so you'll see it, but she has great suggestions for plant-based bowls. Okay, I've already talked about soup. And then wraps. Wraps, instead of the same old sandwich, you can make wraps. And they're so easy if you've got your vegetables all cut up. You grab some of that hummus, preferably hummus either that you've made or it's low-fat hummus, and you can buy that. And then you add the peppers, the carrots, maybe some lettuce. Throw it in there, and you can have a full, nice meal, and it won't cost you as much as if you go to a sandwich shop and they're going to charge you for their wrap, and you don't know what's in that sauce that they're going to put on. You know, if you put in, either you make your own or you use hummus. There's a lot of things you can use. And then if you want, you can sprinkle some nutritional yeast for additional flavor. If you like dill pickles, that's going to be in your wrap, but maybe your partner likes sweet. Well, you got a little choice there. But a lot of times it's kind of fun to have, okay, we're going to have wraps. I got the ingredients in the middle of the counter. You go around and pick what you want. Kids are much more likely to be accepting of that. Okay? And don't have just peanut butter out there or something that, oh, that's all I want to eat. No, have healthy ingredients, and that's the limit. Okay, grilled veggies. Well, if you have them handy, then the barbecuing won't take nearly as long. Salads of all kinds. Again, if you have the broccoli ready, you can whip up a broccoli salad, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about today, as well as a potato salad that works. They're filling, they're not just lettuce. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't have the lettuce, but there's a lot of different kinds of salads you can make that'll be quick if you have the ingredients on hand. Beans and rice, a big favorite. And then you can throw veggies with it. That's a real quick meal to throw together. If you have that rice either cooked or at least kind of the set out so you can quickly prepare, then you could probably get done in the 20 minutes. Baked potato, I've talked about that before. Doesn't this look good? I'm getting kind of hungry. Let's take a look here. Dinner possibilities. We've talked about breakfast. We've talked about some things for lunch. Dinner, vegetable lasagna. Now, that can be a little more time consuming, but again, if you divide it, you make a big batch of it, you have it one night, you don't have cooking the next, maybe 3 nights. So you cut down your cooking time because you're going to have that, more than once. Any kind of pasta, but I shouldn't say any kind, any whole grain pasta, and I'm going to show you some examples of that. Pizza. Now you say, well, that's loaded with cheese. It doesn't have to be. You can buy crust now. They're very healthy, and then you put on it what you want. And if the family says, oh, I have to have cheese on my pizza, well, maybe sprinkle some of this, and if they balk, then maybe some of the plant-based cheese. Minimal. And then there's all kinds of things you can put on your pizza. Spinach. But if your spinach is, you've kind of forgotten to buy it, and you've got some spinach in the refrigerator, and when you finally find it, it's all yucky, that's not going to go over well, and you probably won't get them to try another pizza that you're going to make. So keep in mind that you have to have these ingredients quickly available. Fajitas, tacos, sloppy joe, vegetable stew, stir fry, and as I've talked about, the eggs. All those could be dinners. Scrambled eggs for dinner is fine. All right, so we've talked about some possibilities from actual meals. Now I'm just going to give you, and if you want to, you're welcome to take a picture of this. It will be available down the road, and if you've signed up, you'll be getting, signed up to register for this class, you will, through PBNM, you'll be getting a listing of the resources. I have 2 screens with resources, and then I've got the recipes as well. Okay, some of these are cookbooks. I'm kind of known by my friends as a reluctant cook. So for one year for Christmas, I got a delightful surprise. It was a cookbook with 8 ingredients. That was a limit. I used to be 3 ingredients, and that was my limit. But now I'm up to 8. And I really don't like it if they, a different kind of cookbook, you open and it says, maybe 8 ingredients, but one of the ingredients is another sauce that I have to go and that's 2 recipes. That's not fair at all. So this, the one for the 8, where the vegan 8, this one down at the bottom, 100 simple, delicious recipes, and it was only 8 ingredients or less. Oh, just my style, and it might be your style. But there's some other ones. Plant-based diet in 30 minutes. That sounds pretty good. There are a lot of quick cookbooks that are available, or the cookbooks that will teach or share with you some ways to get in and out of the kitchen, okay? There's also, I put in some transition resources. If you're thinking, yeah, but I don't know if it's worth it, maybe I should try it. This is a good transition resource from PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, or from Forks Over Knives, and then other good resources. So that will be available to you. Let's go on to the next sheet. These are articles that I found just to let you know there's help out there. Easy vegan meal prep in 1 hour. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 8 minutes. Oh, it's 8 minutes video. It's not promising 8 minutes that you'll make breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, easy vegan meal prep. 8 fast ways to eat more vegetables and plantify your diet. Again, there's a lot of good suggestions. So much more than I can, share with you today. Okay, and then I think I need to talk about what we're going to do with the cooking demo. Let's get cooking, right? All right, here's what we're going to do today. What's for dinner? A new twist on an old American favorite, hot dogs, but we're making carrot dogs. Carrot dogs, you say? How in the world could you make a hot dog out of a carrot? I'll be showing you shortly. German potato salad. This is a no-oil German potato salad, and you can see if you like it because you'll be tasting it if you're here. Italian broccoli pasta. And finally, frozen, it's actually Jell-O, frozen treat made with vegan Jell-O. I used to be the Jell-O queen. I love Jell-O, but then when I got smarter, I learned it is so processed. Lots of sugar and lots of processing. So I still had all these great molds. I wanted to make Jell-O. Well, you can make vegan Jell-O, and I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? And we've managed to get it international, didn't we? We got the American, we got the German, we got the Italian, and we got something that the kids for sure will like. So from carrot dogs to vegan treats. Okay. Here's the first recipe. And I can leave that up if you want to look at it while I'm going along. You can see if I forgot an ingredient or something. So I'm going to get that first. I have to kind of rotate here and get my ingredients for the carrot dogs. And I cheated a little. I had some preparation in advance, but I'm going to tell you what I would put in this. Okay, start with a carrot. This one is kind of, I had it, we actually cooked it. And I'm not going to serve this to anyone because I know I'm handling it. But you get your carrot, and the first thing you need to do is, well, I guess I'll use this knife over here. You're going to cut the end off. You want it the size of a hot dog, right? I think that's about right. Okay, and then you look. If it's got bad peelings, you're probably going to need to peel it. So you peel it. A lot of times carrots, they look pretty good, but maybe there's one little spot. So try not to get rid of your peelings. Most of the time you can just get your scrubber out here, scrub them up, and maybe there's one little piece that you say, oh, that looks discolored. I'll get rid of the peelings there. But this will work fine for a carrot dog. Okay. Then what are you going to do with it? I mean, it's hard. Nobody's going to bite into a fresh carrot, as a hot dog. So you put it in your pan. Of course, there's going to be lots more joining this one. And you boil it 5 to 10 minutes. It takes usually about 10 minutes. You can use the Instant Pot if you want to, but it's pretty easy. And then here's a trick. You want, when you have a traditional hot dog, you push in and it kind of resists, and then the fork kind of would go. That's what you want with this. And you can see it works. It's not like a hard carrot. It resists and then it lets go. So what are you going to do with this? Now you cook it. You've cooked it. What are you going to do with it? Well, you're going to put it in a marinade. And I'm going to just show you. It's easy to do. I made it in advance. and I'm going to tell you all the ingredients, but this is the marinade. It smells kind of smoky because there's a tiny bit of a liquid smoke. You don't have to add that. All my recipes are so flexible. You know, I like a recipe that if I don't have this, I can throw something else in. So you put the marinade that you've made in here, and then you're going to put all your carrots in here. And they should be in there for maybe 4 or 5 hours. Overnight's fine. Okay, now what did I make this marinade out of? Well, I started with soy sauce, and I got the low sodium soy sauce. And you can see what the amount is, 1/4 of a cup. And then apple cider vinegar. Okay, and then again, 1/4 of a cup. And then vegetable broth. I made it in advance. You know, you can buy thick vegetable broth and then you add a cup of water to it. So that's what this is. I just to kind of show you that I have it. Now, you need a little bit of sweetener. So maple syrup. Again, it didn't say made from maple syrup or anything. It's official pure maple syrup. And then this is a controversial, you may not want this, but it's considered healthy. And you're only going to put a little bit. I'd put less than a tablespoon. I'd probably put less. It's very strong smelling, so you'll kind of, oh, I don't know if I want too much of that. You don't have to put it in. Okay. And then you can put in the yellow mustard. I guess I have that somewhere else. Oh, here it is. Put some yellow mustard in, not a lot. Now, I didn't add, my husband's allergic to garlic. That's what's so nice about these recipes. I'll just leave it out. Jalapeno juice, that's too much. But some people would really like it. Onion powder, I did add onion powder. And that makes life easier. You can add onions, but you're going to have to grind them up a little bit, you know, so that it'll be smooth in this marinade. Okay, then the carrots just wallow away in their bag, and then you are ready for the final touch. You don't have to do the final step, but it is nice to actually grill. I think the grill marks make all the difference. But if you are running out of time, it's dark, it's winter, and you're not going to bother, and you don't have a nice inside grill, well, these are fine without. I've even made it without any marinade at all. I just, you know, I mean, I experiment. What's the least I can do? Well, what would happen if I cooked the carrots, cooked them, and then put them on the grill? To me, they taste fine. They don't taste quite as much like a traditional hot dog without the marinade, but that's the way I usually make mine. So pretty easy. That's the carrot dog. And what does it look like? Well, here it is. This one is a short carrot dog, but it fits in the bun very nicely. What else did I put on it? Well, by golly, I'm going to get some lettuce in there. I put some mustard underneath, and I put relish here. You might like sauerkraut. You might like ketchup. That's the beauty of this. You can doctor it up the way you want to. But carrot dogs, and I think you're going to be surprised when you taste them. So, again, here's all the condiments. Get them out, and you'll be all set. Okay, that is our first recipe. Thank you, and I'm going to keep this for in the next demonstration. Okay, I'm talking potato salad. And you might say, well, I want the traditional American. You'll be able to find a plant-based traditional American, but I wanted the German. My maiden name was Lesmeister, so I like my German food. Okay, what are you going to do about this? Well, the first thing you're going to do is buy some potatoes. And it's really good if you can get the nice yellow ones. This was a 5-pound package because I knew we'd need a big batch. But you know what? If you make a big batch, oh, it's so nice to have throughout the week. Okay, so you buy your potatoes. And here's an example. What do we find? One that you wouldn't want to serve. So look over your potatoes. This one's pretty green. Now you could take care of that by peeling it. But I just wanted to point that out. This one, what I'm going to do, I take my fresh potato, I scrub it up, I cut it in like slices. Let me show you. Maybe you like chunks. And again, if you have a good slicer, you can make it real thin, but I think that would be a little too thin. but it depends on what kind of a slicer you have. If you have, so you're going to cut maybe like this, and then you can cut maybe into fourths, so that now you've got your ingredients. And this was a raw potato, but you can imagine it's cooked. Okay, so now what are you going to do? Well, you're going to put together your sauce. And what's in your sauce? You can see soy sauce. Again, where did I put that soy sauce? Well, you've seen it before. The soy sauce, and then also red wine vinegar. Okay, I haven't tried it. Oh, okay, soy sauce, apple cider vinegar, Bragg's. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to try. I'm sorry. It's a little hard to read the recipe when I haven't moved it along. Okay, so we got the vegetable broth. Again, just like you made the vegetable broth before, or you can buy the, like quart jars of vegetable broth. Good if you can find low salt. And then whole grain mustard right here. And then salt and pepper to taste. If you just want to use regular pepper, but this is, you can twist it and, you'll get bigger flakes. And then salt. Now, this is not traditional salt. This is a potassium-based salt. So if you're cutting down on salt, this would be more healthy for you. Mrs. Dash, there's so many different varieties of alternative salt. But any rate, you've got a generous grating of black pepper, and then you have your salt to taste, and you don't have to add the salt. And then hickory smoked salt. You can get smoked salt. Health-wise, it doesn't matter whether it's sea salt. Some people prefer the taste, but nutritionally, it doesn't make a difference. And then you can add a few drops of the liquid smoke again. You can tell I like the liquid smoke, but you may not, and that's fine. You don't have to add it, and you add very little. And then 1/3 cup of those sliced onions. These are chopped onions, but I'd throw them in. And what do you end up with? Well, you're going to let the sauce marinate. So you mix the potatoes with this sauce, and you end up with, oh, and I added dill because I love dill. Again, you can add things that you like. But here's our German potato salad. Okay, I like to eat it heated. It can be eaten cold. Okay, so we've got 2 down, right? The carrots and the German potato salad. And now we're getting to our Italian choice. Thank you. I'll just throw that on top. Oops, and this too. Okay, now we're going to make a pasta sauce, a salad. And this is really flexible. You can do all kinds of things. Now, my nice helpers, I had 2. Meryl helped me with the carrot dogs, and Karen helped me with cooking up the broccoli and the pasta. And this is what I mean. If this is made ahead, it takes no trouble to add some things to it. So what I did, I am going to show you how to make this pasta sauce. But we start with 1 cup of brown rice pasta. Any shape is fine. It doesn't have to be brown rice. What you want is whole grain pasta. This is brown rice pasta in spirals. You could use this, and Karen used the spirals, if you can see that. Or you can have whole grain. This is a wheat, and it was, they called it, well, I guess they just called it spiral as well. Okay, it is a spiral shape. Maybe you like shells. You can get whole grain shell pasta. Okay, so in other words, it's very flexible. What have you got in your cabinet? All right, so you got your pasta, you got your broccoli cooked. Then you need to make the sauce. And that might look a little intimidating. There's quite a few ingredients, but it'll go fast. Okay, we start with roasted peppers. Now you could get red peppers, or I guess it doesn't say, yeah, red peppers, and roast them. But maybe you really are running out of time. You can buy them. You can buy roasted red peppers And it should be in water, not oil. If it's in oil, rinse it because you don't need that oil. So I put that in my handy dandy blender already. Okay, so we've got the first ingredient of the sauce, and then we're going to add raw cashews because they make it creamy. Okay, so here's my raw cashews, and I'm going to add 3 tablespoons, which is good because these things are expensive, aren't they? All right, so I guess I better get myself. This is not a machine I use, but I think, well, maybe I need to turn it off. It says, well, that was turning it on. Is it just, I don't have real strong, here we go, we did it. Okay, so now we've got a somewhat blended peppers, and we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. Okay, 3 tablespoons of cashew. 1. That's a little more. I'll put a little less in. And by the way, what kind of cashews are these? Are these the ones that you have at parties? Roasted, salted, lots of oil? Of course not. These are raw cashews. Now, you can find them, but you have to look a little harder. But once you know where they're at a grocery store, you'll be fine. And then you can keep them in the freezer, and they'll last because you may only need a couple tablespoons. Okay, so now we have nutritional yeast. 2 tablespoons. Oh, I guess I have it right here. You can tell I like nutritional yeast. I've got it in a couple places. All right, 2 tablespoons nutritional yeast. And by the way, this is what nutritional yeast looks like. It's kind of flaky. So that's 1, 2. Okay. Tell me what's next. We got lemon juice, right? 1.5 tablespoons. All right. And you better mix this up because all the pulp might be at the bottom. So 1.5. 1. Whoa, that's way too much. That looks like about 1/2. Again, you can be a little flexible here. Okay. Pepper flakes. You only need a tiny bit of those. 1/4 of a teaspoon, but it makes a difference. So at one time I had a 1/4, but I'm going to just add what I think is about 1/4. It's not coming out very fast, so okay. We got our 1/4. And then 1 cup of cherry tomatoes. I measured this. It's about 1 cup. Okay. And then onions.
Joan, the cherry tomatoes don't go in the sauce.
They did now, didn't they?
Take them out.
Take them out? I could probably do that because I can add that to the pasta. Yeah. And that's what happens with a reluctant cook. Sometimes it's a reluctant reader, too.
They need to be cut, right? Okay.
And I want to make it fast. Okay. All right. Well, there's a few in there, but we'll take those. All right. And then the chopped onions. I had those little babies chopped.
The onion can go in the salad bowl.
Okay. Well, so far we've got the lemon juice, the pepper flakes. We won't do the tomatoes. The onions I need to find. 1 pinch of salt. And again, you can use sea salt if you think it has more flavor, but a pinch is all you want to do. So I'll give a little pinch. And then basil leaves. Now, you may not have, I just happen to have nice fresh basil leaves, but if you don't have it, have you discovered this? Basil pesto. This is a quick, unfortunately, you could do better because this has some oil in it and it has some sugar, which they didn't need to put in. But But this is a fast if you don't have access to basil, or dried basil works fine. So it said a couple of leaves. So, oh, okay. How about the, okay, and now we're gonna blend it. Oh, there's those onions, but again, we can add those later. So, so now we are going to blend this up. And from what I understand, I just need to turn this machine on and pulse. Well, maybe I didn't have it tight enough. Let's see if we can get this. I think I didn't have the, oh, that's it. Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay, so you have to have good hand strength, and I don't, so that's why we had a little problem with it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add this to the pasta and the cherry tomatoes, and we'll put the onions in because they are very finely chopped. But are we done? No, because we could have, I should have said, we could have just used some onion powder. If you don't have time to chop those onions, or you forgot to do it in advance, that works just fine. Now, I'm not going to mix this right now because I'm going to show you, well, I could mix it once I add. Oh, okay. What we're going to do is show you a finished one, but I'm showing you how to create it. And this looks like lots of sauce, which is fine because then you can use it for something else. And just mix this. It's very colorful, which is what I like. You got the red, you got the green, you got the yellow from the tomatoes. And here, this is what, look at that. And we actually have a gluten-free. This is a gluten-free, is that right?
This is the regular one.
And this is gluten-free. Mm-hmm.
And I added olive.
Oh, there's lots of things. As Karen just pointed out, there's lots of things you can add. And I'm going to show you what those could be. Right here. You can add garlic or garlic powder. Again, my husband being allergic, we don't do that, but you might want to. You can add, even though you bought the peppers, just for color. These peppers are nice. You can add yellow squash. You can add zucchini. Any kind of vegetables. That's why it says very flexible recipe. Any fresh vegetables. Now, if you like your salads with a little crunch, we've already added the cashews, but we ground those up. So how about adding some sunflower seeds? Again, not roasted, salted, raw sunflower seeds. Or pine nuts if you can afford them. They are expensive, but just a little goes a long way. And another thing you can add is raw sunflower kernels. These were pumpkin seeds. These are all these things. And I bet you have a few ideas of what you'd put in there. You know, so again, I like these kind of recipes because they are so flexible. Now I'm going to remove this, and it's time for dessert. This is messy here, so isn't it wonderful to have a helper? Remember I said you can make cooking fun if you can talk your partner or someone into spending the time with you. Okay, we have one more recipe to go. And this is one that the kids will really like. I think you can try it on them. And let me move so we get that on the screen for you. Okay, frozen fruit treats. You can call them frozen vegan Jell-O fruit treats. I just gave it a short title. This is the simplest recipe yet. Yeah, that would be good. Okay, how are you going to make those? You're not going to use traditional Jell-O. How are you going to make Jell-O? Well, what you can do is use agar-agar. And there's two kinds of agar-agar. There are flakes and there is powder. Here's what powder looks like. And I got this off the internet. In some grocery stores, you'll be able to find it. I wouldn't guarantee all. And this was the powder, which you use less of. If you use like Whole Foods spice area, you can look in your grocery store to see. It'll probably be kind of near spices or Jell-O, traditional Jell-O. Okay. It might sound off-putting. This is made from seaweed, but you don't really taste it at all. And here's what it looks like, in case you're wondering. It's just a tiny bit of powder. I'm gonna put it in this pan. Well, maybe I should start. First thing I do is get 1 cup of juice, and it shouldn't be pre-sweetened. It should be pure, like this is all cherry juice. Okay, you don't need a whole lot. Depends on how many pops you want to make. But 1 cup. Put 1 cup of this juice. But maybe you say, my kids like orange juice. I'm going to go with the orange juice. That's fine. This is what's going to give it flavor. Because remember, sugar is added to Jell-O. So you need to add some sweetener, and this will be fine. And then you add so I've got just pretend with me. I got my liquids in there. I'm going to take this agar powder, and once it's boiling, you sprinkle it over the hot liquid. This gels much faster and at room temperature. Okay, so then I'm going to mix, and then it's nice if you have a nice pouring spout on your pan. That's why I like this one. And then, but if you don't have it, put it in something that has a nice little beak to it or point, so that you can pour it into what you're making. Now I made Jell-O pops. You could put this in all kinds of different, any shape you want. You can put it in a loaf pan. You can put it in a bowl. It's nice in a loaf pan because then you can slice it. But I like it as pops because you can take it somewhere. And all summer we had our pops when we would go to outdoor concerts. They're real handy like that. Okay, now what goes in the Jell-O? I'm not going to just have Jell-O. I want some fruit. Well, this is the simplest thing you can do. Buy fruit cocktail. It's not the best, but it's handy. And make sure it's not sweetened. Okay, so, and then if it's just fruit cocktail, I think they have a hard time, having juice. But if you buy like peaches, maybe you like peaches better then if the juice says it's just from the fruit, you can put that in as part of your water instead of water. But if it says heavy sweetened, rinse your fruit, So you can put peaches, pears, but let's say I'm going to use this, but I still want some fresh fruit. Well, you got cherries, and someone nicely cut them up for me. Maybe your helper did that because they like the pops you're going to make. Or how about blueberries or grapes? Grapes are really good in Jell-O. Sometimes they're kind of big, so you might want to cut them in half. But those are all possibilities. And then I like, even though the recipe doesn't call for it, I like some yogurt. Now I'm going to have plant-based yogurt. And, I would get vanilla. And notice it says unsweetened vanilla, because they can add a lot of sugar to vanilla. And if you get a small one, then that's maybe all you're going to use. And then I really do like pineapple. And that's in its own juice, so I can add that to the water. Okay. And then I went a little more color. So I bought this berry blend. And it had blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, whole strawberries. And I waited till it was a little thawed. And then I added to this mixture that I made. The yogurt you want to add to the hot liquid so it'll blend in easily. But if it isn't, use one of these devices to mix the blend, to make sure the yogurt isn't clumpy. That's kind of a turnoff. So I've got all these ingredients, and then I poured into whatever shape I want. And this one was the orange. And this, sorry, it looks like chocolate, but it's black cherry. And by the way, I do want to say, for those of you who are here, we do have some nut-free I made a couple. I love nuts, so I throw nuts in everything. But and again, it doesn't say that, but you can add it. This recipe is so flexible. You throw in whatever fruit you want. You just have to have something to congeal it. And again, it's kind of like what I said about scrambled eggs. The Jell-O is kind of just the mortar, holds the fruit together. Okay, so your kids, if kids are eating it, they're getting their fruit, but they think it's, more like a frozen treat. Okay, so I think it's about time to move away. Well, we went into the kitchen and cooking. I just went into it already, but I think we are done with the demo. But that doesn't mean we're done, because you may have a lot of questions. And of course, those of you who are lucky enough to be here, we're going to try these foods. So at this point, I am concluding, I'm closing the kitchen. And again, if you are like me, a reluctant cook, I'm hoping that maybe there's a few tips that you can take home and say, oh, that isn't so bad. I could probably do that. Because I've really learned that, it's easier than I thought it was. But I'm not going to want to spend my whole life in the kitchen. So I might, if I'm having a party, but for every day when we know people are busy, you need to know some of these tricks. So at this point, we're going to close. I don't know if we have other announcements, but we will have questions. So if anyone has any questions, if you say, how come you didn't learn how to work that blender a little better? I'm going to say, I didn't know. I didn't have that blender. I brought my own, but then I discovered it didn't quite, all the ingredients wouldn't fit. So, and again, I kind of like to make cooking fun. It's like, well, if it's a real persnickety recipe, forget it. Mine is going to be the simple way, because you can make really good meals that are simple. Okay, with that in mind, thank you all. Those of you who aren't here in person, I really appreciate your taking part of your day to be with us. And I hope that you can get in the kitchen, but get out if you need to or want to. I'll let you go. Now what we have to do is a magic act to get the food ready for you here. So I'm going to kind of clean up some of the things that I worked with, and we'll get the meal ready for you. Sure.
The last recipe for the dessert, it's a soft gel. It's a regular gel, right? It's like a gelatin and not a frozen.
Eggs. No, this one I freeze. Oh, and the question was.
So is this hard? Hard where you.
Yes.
Like
the question was, is this like what I'm thinking of Jell-O, that it's kind of soft? And no, it isn't. You can make Jell-O using agar-agar, but this is a frozen Jell-O. And you actually can even just take yogurt and fruit and freeze it. It isn't quite the consistency, but a lot of kids especially, like frozen things. So, and my husband's a real fan of this Jell-O. So I make it, in the summer especially. And I have another question.
Yes. I am asking a dumb question.
No.
But I have to ask you because I've never asked you. I don't like anything hot. I don't like spices. Okay. So my food is pretty bland. Now, I always see in recipes like the red pepper flakes. I think those are spicy, right? So is there anything that they add to the food? Anything very essential that you have to have the red pepper?
Great question. And the question was, I don't like spicy foods, is what our commenter mentioned. And do you really need to add those spices? And my answer is, you don't have to add hot spices, but spices are excellent for us. There's all kinds of research showing cinnamon, cloves, all sweet spices and hot spices. So you may leave out mostly, you may need a little bit for taste, but you can leave out those hot spices. But I never encourage you to I don't need any spices. We really do. They're an excellent source of health for us. They do all kinds of things. You might want to Google what good are spice, or what are the health benefits of spices? And you'd probably be surprised. Even things like cardamom, there are all kinds of good spices, and you may want to avoid the ones on the hot end. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not going to be wanting your salsa real hot, but you could have mild salsa. Are you okay with green peppers and tomatoes? Oh, okay. All right. Well, those will give you a little bit of spice. So, any other questions now? Now there was one back there. What's your question?
I try to eat as much leafy green as I can, and I'm wondering if you have a tip for cleaning lettuce. That seems to just take so much of my time.
Mm-hmm.
One time I was watching a Chef AJ video, and she was taking some romaine lettuce,
Mm-hmm.
and she just took it right in its original form and just started going down to chopping it without, she didn't wash it or anything. And so do you have any tips for cleaning lettuce?
Okay, the question is lettuce. I want my salad, but I don't want to spend so much time cleaning it. Is there some way to make it a little easier? And yes, one thing, you can trust the labels when it says triple washed, and a lot of us do that. If you're hesitant, that, oh, I don't know, I don't want to trust it, then you're going to have to put some water on it. But usually it's the outer. That's what's going to get, more contaminated. So one thing you can do is peel off maybe the first or second layer around or on a big head of lettuce. Okay, and then wash that and then put it on paper towels. Or if you want to get ambitious, do you have a salad spinner?
Yes.
Okay, and have you tried that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I use that
but you're thinking that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're saying just take out the outer petals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you could chop it like Chef AJ shows. I wouldn't trust quite the outer layer. That's all I'm saying. And then you can put that. Okay, what are you going to do with those ones that you did break off? You're going to rinse them and then put them on paper towels and then work on something else. And when you come back, hopefully they'll be dried. Yeah. Would that help? You can buy chopped up lettuce, if you're really in a crunch, but you're going to pay more for that. Yeah. And yes.
How about organic lettuce in the clamshells?
The question is, do you wash organic lettuce in the clamshell? What does the label say? Does it say it's been triple washed?
It just says organic.
Oh, then I wouldn't trust that. I'd be washing at least the outer layers of it. Yeah, the fact that it's organic doesn't mean it still hasn't been touched by some pesticides or contaminated, or you still have some dirt. I mean, it's growing in dirt, so.
Joan,
Mm-hmm.
our samples are hot.
So I think we're ready to eat. Okay, if there are no more questions, or I'm up here. If you have a question, just want to ask me, that's fine. All right. So, how are we going to do this? We've got dessert first. We got the dessert. You may want to grab that. Why don't we put it on the table here? I think that'd be the easiest, and I'll get my things out of the way. Oh, exactly. Let me clean my finger here. One more nice surprise is you have another opportunity, and perhaps to listen to someone, I know, because she's my friend, Karen and Carrie are both plant-based nutrition board members, and Karen is going to, with Carrie, is going to demonstrate a Middle Eastern dinner. And she's one of those more talented cooks. So I think you're going to enjoy her program. It is going to be Sunday, October 16th, 3 p.m. right here, or from a distance if you're looking, watching remotely. So Karen, you have something you'd like to say?
Okay, so I want to tell you, first of all, just come. It's great to see everybody here, and you will get to taste food again. or we will be able to watch online as well. But I have three reasons why I think you should come. So I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. So we all love food that we're familiar with, our traditional foods, family foods. They give us a lot of comfort. So if you're familiar with Middle Eastern cuisine, then come and we're going to do a little twist on the traditional and do it in a very nutritious way. If you're not familiar with Middle Eastern food, or all you've ever had is hummus, you've probably all maybe had that or not, but maybe you've never made it yourself, then we're going to show you a really easy, delicious way to do that. And we're going to delight your taste buds like that with some other spices that are easy to find, but maybe things that you haven't tasted before. So that's always will be fun. And then the third reason is it doesn't really matter what the cuisine is, because we're just going to make some really good, easy. I'm going to follow Joan too. Nothing is going to be all that complicated. We're going to have some easy recipes that you can create at home without a lot of difficulty. And get some tips too. So we're going to be making some hummus. We're going to do a Jerusalem chopped salad. We're going to do a Middle Eastern chickpea soup. And we're going to have some delicious chocolate date brownie bites too. So I hope that entices you to join us next month.
Hungry. And the next slide.
Oh, okay. So, sign up right now. You can use your phone, take a picture of that, and it'll show you all the registration.
We're trying to make it easy for you.
Okay. Am I done with the microphone?
Okay, I think it's time to eat. And for those of you who can't be with us, you'll get the recipes and then you can try. Goodbye now.